From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana Siddiqui. Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib has accused the U.S. of aiding Israel's violence on Gaza. She called Israel's actions a genocide and said those supporting it are complicit. Tlaib slammed Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's plan to occupy Gaza and expel Palestinians. She also criticized fellow lawmakers for their silence on Israeli war crimes while condemning student protests. Israel's security cabinet recently approved a plan to conquer and control Gaza. This is amid its blockade of food, medicine, and humanitarian aid, as well as the closing of all of Gaza's crossings since March 2nd. In related news, Israel killed 48 Palestinians and wounded 142 others in the past 24 hours in Gaza as its relentless bombardment continues. Rescue efforts remain hampered in many areas due to Israel's blockade in the region. Israeli airstrikes killed children, women, and disabled staff from a charity aiding deaf children. Israel's Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich declared the goal is to destroy Gaza, expelling its population into the southern strip. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu also threatened mass displacement ahead of a new ground offensive. Hamas has ruled out any talks under the current siege. Israel has killed more than 60,000 Palestinians and wounded over 118,000 in its genocide in Gaza. The Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, and several civil rights law firms are suing the California Highway Patrol and the Los Angeles Police Department. Last May at UCLA, officers in riot gear stormed the Palestine Solidarity encampment, tore down structures, and beat protesters with batons. They fired more than 50 rubber bullets without legal warning or cause. According to the lawsuit, the excessively violent and militarized response caused severe injuries to students and community members. Some suffered head wounds and broken bones, and one required surgery. The legal action seeks damages, a formal declaration of unlawful conduct, and a court order to prevent such militarized responses in the future. A Republican lawmaker is under fire after comparing a halal restaurant opening in the U.S. Congress building to the Muslim conquest of Jerusalem. Georgia Congressman Mike Collins made the remark on social media. He was reacting to the replacement of a Steak and Shake with CHA Street Food, a halal restaurant from Northern Virginia. Collins compared it to the 7th century Muslim conquest of Jerusalem, a comparison often invoked by Christian nationalists. Last year, he endorsed an anti-Semitic post attacking a Jewish journalist and refused to apologize. He also mocked Free Palestine campus protests and posted a video of police tasering a student protester. As well, Collins has suggested an undocumented immigrant should be thrown out of a helicopter and labeled Black Lives Matter a communist front. The Democratic Republic of the Congo and Rwanda have submitted draft texts for a long-awaited peace agreement aimed at ending the brutal conflict in eastern Congo. The U.S.-brokered Declaration of Principles was signed in Washington by the foreign ministers of both nations in April. The final signing is scheduled for June at the White House, with the presidents of the Congo, Rwanda, and the U.S. in attendance. The conflict has displaced more than 7.8 million people, with the UN reporting more than 600 extrajudicial killings in 2 months across North and South Kivu provinces. Pakistani students won top honors at Technofest 2025 in the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. Technofest is Turkey's largest aerospace and tech event, drawing more than 1 million applicants last year. A team from Pak Turk Marif International Schools clinched first prize in the Social Innovation category for middle schoolers. Their project, an emotion detector gadget for quadriplegics, stood out among more than 47,000 applicants from 22 countries. The invention helps quadriplegic patients by detecting and communicating their emotions. The winning team was among 268 finalist teams from 6 countries. It received the award from President Recep Tayyip Erdogan at a grand ceremony. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order cutting all federal funding for gain-of-function research. Details after the break, so stay tuned, and we'll be right back. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order cutting all federal funding for gain-of-function research. This type of research involves enhancing viruses to better understand how they spread. Trump claims the method is risky and may have caused the COVID-19 pandemic. The American Society for Microbiology defended the research, saying it benefits life sciences. Under Trump's order, the funding freeze will stay in place until a safer and more transparent policy is created. Agencies must enforce the ban within 120 days. Institutions that violate the order could lose federal funding for up to 5 years. Faculty and staff at Georgetown University held a campus vigil on Monday, demanding the release of 3 scholars detained by U.S. immigration authorities. The scholars were arrested after speaking out against Israel's genocide in Gaza. The protest was part of a coordinated campaign with Columbia and Tufts universities. Detainees include Badr Khan Suri, an Indian postdoctoral researcher at Georgetown, Mahmoud Khalil, a Palestinian activist and Columbia graduate, and Rumeysa Öztürk, a Turkish PhD student at Tufts. All were detained in March with no criminal charges filed. Supporters say the arrests are politically motivated and aim to silence critics of Israel's military campaign. Protests will continue every Monday until the scholars are freed. The U.S. has blacklisted a Burmese militia group, accusing it of scamming Americans out of billions through fake crypto schemes. The group, known as the Karen National Army, or KNA, is resisting the Burmese military. The U.S. Treasury says the group and its leader, Saw Chit Thu, along with his sons, ran pig butchering scams. These allegedly tricked victims, mainly older Americans, into fake crypto investments, causing $9.3 billion in losses in 2024. The KNA is also accused of cross-border smuggling to fund its activities. Hitting the resistance group fighting military rulers is seen as part of Washington's crackdown on crypto-related schemes. The U.S. claims Southeast Asia has become a hotspot for crypto scams run by trafficked individuals under coercive networks. President Donald Trump is under fire for repeatedly using the phrase low IQ to insult black women critical of his policies. In a recent NBC interview, Trump called Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett definitely a low IQ person. He made similar remarks about her earlier this year. Crockett hit back on social media, saying Trump fears smart, bold black women. NPR's Peter Sagal notes that Trump used the same slur against Representative Maxine Waters and Vice President Kamala Harris, whom he also called stupid, slow, and mentally unfit. While Trump has insulted many of his critics, analysts point out he often targets black women's intelligence specifically. One scholar called it a textbook case of racism masked as political rhetoric. The Trump administration has resumed aggressive collection of defaulted student loans after a 5-year pause. The move has sparked outrage among borrower advocacy groups. Wage garnishment is now on the table, potentially affecting millions struggling to repay loans. Observers say it is cruel and will worsen economic chaos for working families. More than 42 million Americans owe student debt, totaling more than $1.6 trillion. Over 5 million students are now in default, and that number could double as protections are rolled back. The Student Borrower Protection Center and nearly 200 groups have condemned the administration's efforts to end income-driven repayment plans and scrap the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Meanwhile, Republicans in Congress are pushing more than $350 billion in cuts from education programs. These include eliminating subsidized loans, restricting Pell Grants, Pell Grant access, and reversing debt relief for students misled by predatory institutions. Experts say this agenda favors the wealthy and corporations while hurting low-income families, especially students at historically black colleges. Borrowers also face plummeting credit scores, with the Federal Reserve warning drops as steep as 171 points. The U.S. has launched a new self-deportation program offering $1,000 in travel assistance to undocumented immigrants who voluntarily return to their home countries. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem claims it is the safest and most cost-effective way for undocumented migrants to leave the U.S. without facing arrest or detention. The money will be given after departure is confirmed via the CBP Home app, which applicants must use to submit their intent to depart. One migrant has already left for Honduras under the scheme, with others booking tickets this week. Administration officials say the move could save U.S. taxpayers up to 70% in deportation costs. Deporting a migrant currently costs more than $17,000. Those who choose to self-deport will be deprioritized for detention and may have better chances of returning legally in the future. The Department of Homeland Security claims this method protects law enforcement and migrants alike while cutting government expenses. Global Finance magazine has announced the best Islamic financial institutions for 2025, recognizing outstanding performance, innovation, and growth in Sharia-compliant banking. The awards were revealed in New York, highlighting top performers from across Asia, the Middle East, and beyond. Kuwait Finance House, or KFH, was named the world's best Islamic financial institution. It is one of the world's largest Islamic banks and operates across Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Malaysia, and Europe. Standard Chartered Sadiq earned the title of Best Islamic International Bank. It is the only global bank with a complete suite of Islamic financial products active across Asia, Africa, and the Middle East. Malaysia-owned Maybank Islamic won Best Islamic Bank in Asia. Dukhan Bank in Qatar was awarded Best Islamic Private Bank. Islamic banking is based on Islamic law and prohibits interest and speculative activities, focusing instead on ethical investments, profit sharing, and asset-backed financing. In 2022, the total assets of global Islamic banking amounted to about $3.2 trillion. The value of global Islamic banking is projected to grow to $4.6 trillion by 2027. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. Please donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.